So you want to save people with a smile and play as All Might in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Let's go beyond and go plus ultra and dive into this build by starting with the race. We're going to choose Variant Human because this gives us a feat right at first level. We could have chose something like Goliath because of how big All Might is, and we're going to be focusing more on the big All Might, not the small might, but we want the versatility of being a Variant Human. And All Might was essentially a normal human to start, until he was gifted the abilities of One for All. So I'm going to stick with Variant Human, and this gives us a feat right at first level, but we're going to save that for just a minute, because that's going to get a little tricky. This also gives us a skill right at first level, and we're actually going to take Deception. We're going to take this because we want to hide the fact that we actually received this quirk and didn't just get born with it. Then when it comes to a background, I was really tempted to go with one of the student backgrounds because you went to UA Academy in My Hero Academia, but let's focus on even before that and go with the background Rewarded. This comes from the Book of Many Things, and the whole idea of this background is that you were living kind of a difficult life, and then you're rewarded through some sort of divine intervention or just pure good luck. And this is like One for All being passed down from one generation to the next, just like you're going to be doing to young Midoriya. This background gives us skill proficiencies in Insight and Persuasion, but it also gives us the feature Fortune's Favor, allowing us to choose one out of 3 feats, either Lucky, Magic Initiate, or Skilled. We're going to use it for Lucky because it's going to help our overall build a little more than anything else would. Then we have to jump over to some stats, and using Point Buy from the Player's Handbook in 5th edition, we're going to min-max this a bit. If you want to save people with a smile, you need decent charisma, and All Might is very mighty and strong. So we're going to put 15 points into Strength, Charisma, and Constitution because we want to take a decent amount of hits to at least survive that incredibly gruesome wound to your side, and to be able to fight through the Bane when you're essentially coughing out blood. And then on top of those 15 points in the main stats, you get 1 point into 2 different ability scores. So we're going to boost up our Strength and our Charisma. Now it's time to choose a starting class, and I wanted to circle back to the idea of a feat that we can grab from being a Variant Human. So with how D&D works with particular spells and abilities, you can't really amp up a smash attack like I would hope. Because if you're All Might, you need to be able to do a Detroit Smash, or go even further beyond. So here is where you need to talk to your Dungeon Master. I am going to build this as if it's rules as written, but if your Dungeon Master would allow you to use your fists as enchantable weapons, and you can use them for things like smites, then go ahead and take the feat Fighting Initiate. This gives you a fighting style from the fighter class, and you can take unarmed fighting, meaning that if you're not wielding anything in your hands, you can go ahead and punch with a D8 of damage. The 2 big downsides here is that if you're going rules as written, you can't do smites or enchant your fists in any way, not to mention those punches don't become magical for basically anybody other than a monk. However, punching is bludgeoning damage, and All Might has some pretty big fists, so we're going to take the feat Great Weapon Master and pick up a Maul, which is essentially a giant hammer, so we can punch really hard, saying that that big hammer is actually just our fist. Great Weapon Master is pretty awesome. You can take a -5 to your accuracy for the hit, but this gives you a +10 to the damage when you strike with that great weapon. And on top of that, if you happen to score a critical hit or take an enemy out with that weapon, you can go ahead and take 1 more attack as a bonus action for free, which is insanely powerful to the point that Wizards of the Coast tried to nerf this ability for future D&D iterations, but everybody was kind of pissed about it, so they just kind of rolled it back. So if your DM allows it, take some enchantable fists, but I'm going to be role-playing that the Maul that you can use as a great weapon with your Great Weapon Master feat is actually just your big fist. And this is going to be especially useful with the class that we're going to choose, Paladin. You're all about saving people with a smile. You're the symbol of peace. You're the #1 hero. And I don't think of anything that could fit that better than being a Paladin. When you become a Paladin, you get to choose 2 skills. So we're going to go ahead and choose Persuasion to help encourage those around you, and Athletics to just go along with the insane amount of strength that you have. Being a Paladin gives you proficiency with shields, all armor, all weapons, and you get saving throws in Wisdom and Charisma. Then at first level of Paladin, you get the feature Divine Sense. So you can go ahead and sense evil around you, especially if it's all for one. Almost as if you're getting a bit of an inkling from the past users of One for All. Additionally, at first level, you get the feature Lay on Hands, so you can heal yourself or others just by putting your hand on them and using some points from a pool of healing that you have from this feature. The amount of healing points you have are equal to 5 times your paladin level. And if you use at least 5 points, you wind up being able to neutralize a disease or poison. Then at second level of paladin, you get a fighting style. And I'm actually going to take defense. There's plenty of iterations of All Might where he's wearing his super suit and it looks like it has some sort of armor on it. So you can boost up that armor with the defense fighting style, giving you another +1 to your armor class. Also at second level of paladin, you get some spell casting, but we're going to save most of the spells for the end of this build. And with spell casting, of course, you need some spell slots in Dungeons and Dragons, but you can also use those spell slots on another feature you get at second level called Divine Smite. So if you spend a first level spell slot, you deal an extra 2d8 radiant damage on a hit, but you can spend a higher level spell slot to deal more and more damage. But this only goes up to a maximum of 5d8, although you get an extra 1d8 on top of that if the enemy happens to be an undead. Then at third level of paladin, you get Divine Health. So you're immune to disease. There's also an optional feature at third level called Harness Divine Power. And I think of this as sort of reaching down deep and summoning the power of One for All. This allows you to use a bonus action to regain 1 spell slot, but the level of the spell slot can be no higher than half your proficiency bonus rounded up. You can use this feature once at third level, twice at 7th level, and 3 times at 15th level, regaining all uses on a long rest. But the last thing we need at third level of Paladin is to choose a sacred oath, and we're going to be going with the Oath of Glory. You want to save people with a smile. You want to be the symbol of peace. And glory isn't about glory for yourself. It's about glory for your cause. You get tenets of glory, a path, an ideal for you to follow. And the tenets for this oath are actions over words. You're going to be known for your glorious deeds, not your words. Even though you do plenty of talking, it's All Might. You see challenges as tests and you face your hardships head on with courage, and you encourage your allies to do them with you. You also have the idea of honing your body. Your body is to be worked on to release its potential, and this ideal really comes through with how you train young Midoriya. You also get a handful of spells with this subclass, but again, we're going to cover the spells at the end of this build, and all paladins get Channel Divinity. And being an Oath of Glory paladin gives you 2 specific options to use this Channel Divinity. The first one is Peerless Athlete. So for 10 minutes, you can have advantage on any strength or dexterity checks, and you can push and pull and lift twice as much weight. And the distance of your long and high jumps is increased by 10 feet. But personally, I like the idea of the Inspiring Smite. You let out a Detroit Smash or a United States of Smash, and it inspires all of your allies around you. Inspiring Smite makes it so that way if you do some damage with your Divine Smite ability, you inspire those around you, pushing them to keep going and go through those struggles and be able to come out strong on the other side. And mechanically, this feature allows you to distribute a number of temporary hit points to allies within 30 feet of you. The number of temporary hit points equals 2d8 plus your level in Paladin, but you can distribute them however you like. Then at 4th level of Paladin, you get your first ability score improvement, so I would just go ahead and boost up our strength by 2 points. At 5th level of Paladin, you get extra attack, which is very important for any martial class, but it's especially important as a Paladin, because now that gives you 2 chances to strike especially hard with your Divine Smite ability. And you can do even more damage with that Divine Smite because at this level, you get access to 2nd level spell slots. And now you can kind of play your odds a bit. You're going to want to save those big Detroit Smashes or Texas Smash or whatever random part of the United States or the whole thing you want to smash with, and save it for when you crit, because your crit allows you to double any dice that you roll, and smiting in general is all about rolling extra dice, so doubling those dice is even better. At 6th level of Paladin, you get Aura of Protection, so now you can add your Charisma modifier to every saving throw. And not only that, this bonus applies to any allies within 10 feet of you. Then at 7th level of Paladin, you get another feature from your Oath of Glory, called Aura of Alacrity. So you move faster and you encourage those around you to move faster. Your walking speed is is increased by 10 feet, and any creature that starts its turn within 5 feet of you is also 10 feet faster, at least until the end of their turn. And when you reach 18th level in this class, that range is increased to 10 feet. Then at 8th level of Paladin, you get another ability score improvement, so let's go ahead and max out that strength. Then at 9th level of Paladin, you get access to 3rd level spell slots, so you can do a smash even better. Then at 10th level of Paladin, you get Aura of Courage. So you and any creature in your aura are no longer allowed to be frightened, because you're just that much of a symbol that you encourage those around you to just fight through the fear and charge forward. Then at 11th level of Paladin, you get Improved Divine Smite. So now even when you don't spend any spell slots on a smiting ability, by default you get an extra 1d8 of damage on every single attack you do. And this goes on top of any actual Divine Smites you spend spell slots on. Then at 12th level of Paladin, you get another ability score improvement. And I would actually take a feat and go with Resilient. Resilient allows you to choose one ability score, and we're going to choose Constitution. It's an odd number, so we want to round it out. This gives us a +1 to our Constitution, bringing it to 16. And it also gives us proficiency in saving throws with that ability. And we want this because it helps our concentration checks when we're concentrating on a spell. And there's going to be a few spells we're going to grab that you really do not want to lose concentration on. So now if you have to make a concentration check, you get your proficiency bonus, you get your constitution ability modifier, and you can add your charisma thanks to being a paladin. Then at 13th level of Paladin, you get access to 4th level spell slots, which is gonna be pretty close to the max, but we're not quite there. Then at 14th level of Paladin, you get Cleansing Touch. So now you can end one spell affecting yourself or an ally that you touch. It only costs you an action, and you can do it as many times as your charisma modifier. Then at 15th level of Paladin, you get another feature from Oath of Glory, called Glorious Defense. So now you can turn your defense into a sudden strike against evildoers. So now you can help defend yourself or anybody within 10 feet of you. If you see somebody that's about to get hit with an attack, you can use your reaction to add your charisma modifier to the armor class of yourself or that ally. And if that attack then misses, you can actually make another attack against that enemy, all as part of one reaction, as long as they're within range of you to be able to attack them. And with so much relying on charisma at this point, we need to boost it up. So at 16th level of Paladin, you get another ability score improvement, and we're going to put 2 points into charisma. Then at 17th level of Paladin, you get access to 5th level spell slots, so you can do a full-blown United States of Smash! And then at 18th level of Paladin, all of the auras that you have expand in range. Whereas before they were limited to 15 feet, now they're 30 feet. Then at 19th level of Paladin, you get access to another ability score improvement. So we're going to go ahead and max out our charisma, making us the best All Might that we can be stats-wise. Then at 20th level of Paladin, you get your last feature from Oath of Glory. At this point, you become the full-blown symbol of peace. You are a living legend, which is the name of this 20th level feature. As a bonus action, you can empower yourself for 1 minute, and this blesses you with an otherworldly presence and gives you advantage on all charisma checks. So when you arrive on the scene, you can announce your presence by saying, "I am here," and save people with a smile. While you're empowered like this, once on each of your turns, if you happen to miss a creature with an attack, you can immediately turn it into a hit, just by default. And if you fail a saving throw, you can use your reaction to re-roll it and take the new roll. I think that fully encapsulates the core of the build, but now it's time for those spells. I'll cover the core spells, but if you want the full spell list, I'll have it up on my Patreon, where I have the character sheet for all of my builds. By default, as being an Oath of Glory Paladin, you get Heroism. So of course you're going to take that. It's actually a very powerful spell. You can touch one willing creature, including yourself, and that creature is immune to being frightened, and they gain temporary hit points at the start of each of their turns. It's only equal to your charisma modifier, but it's just an extra shield of health that's just constantly regenerating. Other spells like Compel to Duel or Shield of Faith can also be very helpful, especially when you're trying to protect people and keep the attention on you while being able to survive it, but you hit people really hard with those big smashes. And one of the best ways to help that early on is the spell Thunderous Smite. You can use a bonus action to charge up the hit, and when you hit somebody you do an extra 2d6 thunder damage, and it hits so hard people can hear it 300 feet away. And on top of that, the villain has to make a strength saving throw or be pushed 10 feet away. And since you are the symbol of peace, I would also grab the 3rd level spell, Crusader's Mantle. This emanates holy power from within you for up to 30 feet around you, and any ally within those 30 feet deals an extra 1d4 radiant damage on every strike. But one spell of 3rd level I can't avoid is Blinding Smite. When we see All For One in the series, he's got no eyes, so I kinda like the idea that the spell Blinding Smite is what All Might used against All For One. And it just made it so he doesn't have eyes anymore, because this spell activates as a bonus action, and then on your next hit you can deal an extra 3d8 damage. That damage is radiant, and the person who takes that damage has to make a Constitution saving throw or be blinded. Technically that blinding only holds on until this spell ends, but I'd say you just hit him so hard that it just kinda stuck. And one 3rd level spell you automatically get by default thanks to being an Oath of Glory paladin is Haste. And haste is going to be super helpful, especially for a paladin and especially for All Might. This was part of the reason I took the resilient feat, because losing concentration on haste really sucks. But while it's active, your speed is doubled, you get a +2 to your armor class, you have advantage on dexterity saving throws, and you get 1 extra action you can take on every single turn. But that extra action can only be used for 1 attack, or you can use it for taking dodge or dash or whatever you want. They just wanted to make sure they limited the amount of attacks that you could do with this, because if you went with something like a fighter, this would just be way too overpowered with how many attacks they have. But you needed that resilient feat to make sure you didn't lose concentration, because once you lose concentration, it's like you turning from All Might to Small Might. It's just drains you, and you can't do anything for an entire turn. There's some great options at 4th level, but the one I gotta grab is Staggering Smite, because you hit somebody so hard they're just kind of staggered and dazed for a second, making it so they can't take any reactions, and they have disadvantage on their next attack rolls and ability checks after you wind up dealing 4d6 psychic damage to them. Then there's 2 5th level spells I gotta grab, and one is Destructive Wave. You hit so hard that it just ripples out from you, forcing every creature that you choose within 30 feet of you to make a Constitution saving throw. If they fail, they take 5d6 thunder damage and 5d6 radiant or necrotic, but we're probably going to stick with radiant. And on top of that, they're also knocked prone. And remember, if you're doing melee attacks against a prone creature, it's at advantage. If they succeed on the saving throw, they still take half damage and they aren't knocked prone, but it's still damage no matter what. But the big hitter that I really wanted to focus on is Banishing Smite. This makes it so your next attack is going to do 5d10 force damage, and almost no creatures are immune or resistant to force damage. If you happen to have a setup where you know, or at least have a really good shot at being able to crit, this is how you pull off a full-blown United States of Smash. Because if we're replacing our fist with the Maul, if you happen to have a creature that's under the effect of Hold Person or Hold Monster, you are automatically going to crit. Or if you have advantage, you might want to try and set it up here as well, because that's going to be your best chance at recreating this epic move. Just that one strike from your Maul is going to deal 2d6 damage. Then you get your Banishing Smite for another 5d10 force damage. Then amp that up with an actual smite. That Divine Smite is going to deal another 5d8 radiant damage. Then you get an extra 1d8 radiant damage thanks to your improved Divine Smite, and we're hoping that you crit on this. So that's going to double all the dice. Then don't forget you get to add your strength modifier of a +5, and you get to add your Great Weapon Master for another +10. Meaning that an average hit from this, if it's a crit, is going to deal 151 damage with that single strike. But if you can be super lucky and get super high rolls on everything, you can deal up to 235 damage in that one strike, leading to a true United States of Smash. But that's how you can do the true smash attacks, whether you're doing the Detroit smash, the Texas smash, or the United States smash. If there's anything you do differently or any characters you'd want built in the future, let me know in the comments down below. And if you want access to the character sheet for this build, feel free to check out my Patreon. I got character sheets for all of my builds down there. And overall, I just have some awesome patrons that help support this channel. Here they are going on by. They're super awesome. Especially my player character patrons, Natron209, Kevin Shirley, Zephyros, The Funny Man 57, Joshua Maynard, CGC 2014, Afstorm, Lisa Martinez, Pandal Milkshake, Ted Z, Andrew Nobles, Karkak, Kitsune, Decker Joint, Z13, Viral Naravar, Daniel Galvin, and the Dino 21. Then there's the Dungeon Master level patrons I play D&D with, Shane Gilroy, Conman ZX, Cyberciety, Talon, Starkey, Eric, Wade, Salvador, Devin Happy, and Kilo Kilo. Then going above and beyond anything I ever imagined is GameSteak. He's my god tier level patron. So a very special thank you to him. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, let me know by hitting that like button. And I'll be here hoping you roll at least 3 nat 20s in your next D&D session, especially if you want to be the symbol of peace, playing as All Might and going beyond, going plus ultra in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition.